All right, well, thank you everybody for being here on day 2 of Denver Startup Week. My name is Craig, I'm the co-chair of the Growth Track, and I'm incredibly excited today to kick off SEO sort of 101, an overview panel by an incredible group of panelists. I guess just to give a little bit of context for me, and I'm sure a lot of you guys know this, when I started my career in marketing, I worked for a company that did about 100 million in revenue and was just amazed that we were spending all of our time on paid social and other things, but if you looked at where our sales were coming from, about 50% of revenue was coming from free channels like organic search. It's the same thing now. I work for a company that does about 3 billion in sales, and when I asked sort of some of the leadership of how they sort of built this infrastructure to generate so much free sort of traffic and sales, they said it was a lot of work early on of just getting the fundamentals of SEO right. So that's kind of the context for today's discussion. I'll pass it off to our group to introduce themselves and then give an overview of what we plan to talk about.
So we do have a thing that needs to be agreed upon for Park Central Wi-Fi.
Yes, we want the internet. Yep, we agree to your terms of use.
First thing about SEO, internet important.
Oh my gosh, I hope it doesn't give you captions. All right, good morning. How is everybody today? Did anybody else struggle finding this building? Yeah. Oh my God. Woo. Glad I made it. I was like, I'll be here by 8. By 8, I'm at 8:15. So we're going to take pity on the poor people coming in now because this was impossible to find. Come on in, SEO. Come on in. You made it. There's so many seats in the front. Come on, guys. You got this. So thank you guys for getting up bright and early this morning to talk about everybody's favorite topic, which is SEO. It's a great 8:30 a.m. topic. My name is Natalie Henley. I am the owner of Volume 9. We are a digital marketing agency here in Denver. We are 16 years old this year. And we started as an SEO agency. We do a little bit more now. I would call us a very customer journey focused agency because you really have to be in order to be great at SEO. But all those years ago, we started as SEO only, and SEO is still a core part of our DNA. So, and we have a very specific kind of way that we approach digital marketing. It's very customer journey centric. It's also very organic. So I believe really strongly that long-term businesses try to get off of the pay-per-click crack pipe, not on it. So that's what our brand's all about, is SEO, content, email, connecting with your customer, kind of doing things the right way. All right, and that's me. Pass it off to Gina.
Thank you, Natalie. I'm Gina Mares, and I am the co-founder of Dharana Digital, which is an international digital marketing agency. I've got co-founders in Bangladesh and Australia, and my Australian counterpart is also an award-winning individual speaker, author, educator in Australia. So we partnered together and created an SEO and social media agency. It's been so much fun. And a little bit about me, I'm a Colorado native. I went to the University of Denver, got my marketing degree. Right after graduating from the University of Denver, moved to Southeast Asia, lived in Thailand for 3 years, and that's where I actually started my international marketing experience. I worked with a startup called Oxford Online English, and no students. It was an online English school. They needed to get students, they needed to get traffic to their website. So that was my job, and I had never done that before. I didn't know what I was doing, but I learned, I dug into SEO, and I figured it out. And I didn't know at the time, but I was developing my foundation, my career in SEO. So fast forward 9 years, and Oxford Online English now has 25 teachers to keep up with their demand for classes. They see over 250,000 visits to the website. We've got about 3 million YouTube subscribers. And this was all based on developing an SEO strategy rooted in YouTube and the website. So I now have the opportunity to take that framework that we developed with Oxford Online English with my digital marketing agency and help wellness coaches from around the world grow their digital marketing, grow their brand, and get traffic to their website. So I'm so excited to be here with you all today and talk about something that's very near and dear to my heart, which is search engine optimization. So thank you.
All right, yeah, thank you, Gina. I'm Jeff Goodsmith. I'm not from Denver, actually. I flew in from Chicago. My luggage is right there. I'm hopping on the airplane after this, but really excited to be here. I'm the lead SEO, and I'm a digital strategist for Click Studios, which we do have a Denver presence as well. We have offices in Denver, Chicago, Austin, and now we're just everywhere because remote working is cool. I get to work with a lot of cool websites. We mostly do web design, but we do have a marketing wing. So I'm in charge of our SEOs for our marketing clients, but also I do the technical fixes and things like that for all of our launches. I've worked with some really cool clients. On the slides there, you'll see. I'm not going to name anyone out specifically, but yeah, I worked with a U.S. national sports team. Rebuilt their website entirely from scratch, which was amazing. We saw some amazing. They changed domains, so they dropped to 0 in traffic, and within a month they were 4 times their keyword ranking and double their traffic, which was super cool. Also, I don't know if you've heard of this. I'm not going to say its name. There's a Denver entertainment venue that rhymes with bedlocks. I wrote their meta description, so I've been in the SEO game. Actually, one of those, I think this is a very common story for a lot of people with SEO. I had a marketing degree. I had a lot of content writing background. I've written over 1,000 articles for various publications and a decent amount of readership for that. So I know what kind of content works. I was like, I like marketing. I like writing. What's the thing I'm going to do? And I got hired for an SEO position, and they were like, you'll learn the SEO stuff. You have the intangibles to do the other things. Learn the SEO stuff as you go, because SEO is always a moving target, and you have to be thirsty. You have to be very looking for the new thing that is happening. And so, and then 2 months later, my boss quit, and I had to do his job. So, so excited to be here. So excited to be with Gina and Natalie as well, and hopefully you'll learn a thing or two about SEO, or just come away with some insights or some inspiration. That's I think what we're looking for here.
All right, awesome. Thank you guys for that introduction. I guess just by way for the group, what we plan to discuss today is sort of the foundation of SEO, so diving deep on technology, content, links, and backlinking. From there, we'll kind of go into keyword intent, different types of content to sort of support your SEO efforts, tools and resources, free sort of things that teams can lean in on, talk through analytics, and at the very end, if time allows, a flash sheet where this team here will give a panelist who raises their hand some SEO recommendations for their business, and then a Q&A towards the end. If you have questions tied to any of the topics as we discuss them, raise your hand. But I guess we'll kick it off, and this is great learning for me too. Walk us through the foundations of SEO, starting with some of the technology pieces.
So just a show of hands, how many of you are already implementing an SEO strategy and you're feeling fairly confident with SEO in general?
Okay, that was like 5 people. Yeah.
How many of you?
You guys move to the back.
SEO is like a foreign language. You're not really sure at all what's going on with it or what it is or where to start.
Learning.
Okay, awesome. Anyone somewhere in the middle? Okay, great.
Everybody else is too tired to raise their hand.
Yes, so in general, if we just start from the very basics, so SEO stands for search engine optimization. And basically, it is the communication with Google that your website or a page within your website is worth Google indexing.
And being technically applied.
And yes, exactly. And feel free to chime in as well if you have any other details, right? So how we do that is from a couple different pillars. The first pillar is the technical aspects of your website. That's what directly communicates with Google, right? So when we look at a web page, we know what we see. We see a picture, we see a headline, we see text, right? We know, we can understand that. But Google and the search engines, they translate the web page a little differently, and they need a specific language to understand what this website has so it can rank your site in the Google search engine results page. So that's where the technical aspect comes in, which I will speak to. And so like I mentioned, basically there are little bots that all the search engines have that crawl all of your pages on your website to decide if it should be ranked. And there are four basic pillars that can help your site rank in the technical aspect. And the first pillar to think about is the speed of your website. How fast does your website load? So statistics say that 53% of website visitors will leave if a website does not load within 3 seconds. So that means you've got 3 seconds to make sure your website is loading, your images are loading, and everything is browsable for your visitors. So there are a few things that you can do. Basically, on the technical aspect, right, there are plugins that you can use to make sure that you can have a fast website load speed, web page load speed. WordPress Rocket is good, but I would look on WordPress if that's what you're using for page speed insight. You can also go to Google Page Speed Insight. It's Page Speed Insights from Google, and that will tell you how fast your page is loading on mobile and desktop, and give you a list of things to do to make it faster that you can just send to your developer and say, hey, we need to do these things. Right, so speed, that's the first pillar. The second pillar is going to be links, making sure your links work, they're not broken. We'll talk a little bit more about that moving forward, but just making sure that things aren't broken, basically, with your links. Right, the third pillar is making sure that your website is secure and it's browsable. So we need to have a secure certificate, security certificate for your website. If you're developing your website on WordPress or Wix, you'll automatically have that, but you want to make sure, double check. It also needs to be browsable. No pop-ups that are preventing people from smoothly browsing through your website. It's an understandable user journey. We can go from one page to the next, and people aren't confused and bouncing off of your site. So that's the third pillar. And the fourth pillar from the technical aspect is making sure that your structure or your schema is correctly identified so Google can understand what's going on, or other search engines can understand what's going on your page. So this is like another language that talks to Google. This is what tells Google this is a headline, right? We have H1 heading. This is what tells Google that this is the description of the page. This is an image of the page. So that's called metadata, and that is the markup of your page. And the way that you can tell if your site has this metadata is going in through the code of your website and checking this, and checking all of that language. And it might seem a little confusing. Again, most like WordPress, it has this built in. If you have a plugin called Yoast, Y-O-A-S-T, it's a great plugin that helps you, basically guides you through what you need to do for all of this metadata. So check for plugins, right? Rank Math is another good one for WordPress. Wix has a built-in guide for you. But if you want a little bit more of a high-level experience with this, you can go to a website called schema.org, schema.org, and that will actually basically tell you what type of schema you need for what your website or what your blog for WordPress.org is doing. And we'll talk a bit more about content as well. So just to briefly touch on that, you go to schema.org and it will tell you, for example, if you have a recipe that you're trying to share with people. So who all has anyone searched for a recipe before? And show of hands, right?
Like to read a life novel before you get the recipe.
Exactly.
Content's coming up next.
Yeah. So just, briefly, I'll briefly touch on this and they can kind of continue. But when you search for a recipe, oftentimes there are maybe 4 or 5 little boxes that come up on Google that have the picture of what you're trying to cook, maybe a review, and maybe a description. So that's all based on schema. So I could go to schema.org, put in all of my information for that recipe, tell schema.org that it's going to be a recipe, and it will tell me what language to use in the code of my website in order to have it organized as a recipe. You can have that as products, recipes, reviews, etc. So that's all part of your tech, the tech aspects of your website, to make sure that it's set up correctly on the back end.
So building on that, you began to touch on sort of content. So whether that's photos, videos, blog posts, what's the role of that in sort of some of the SEO foundations?
Perfect. All right. I demanded to talk about content. So thank you guys for letting me do this. So content's my favorite of the 3 pillars. All of the pillars are really important, but in my assessment, and this is an opinion, content's the most important. I have firsthand seen websites with strong content strategies overcome the other pillars. Thinking about the kind of content that you have on your website is basically the fuel for search engine optimization. If you kind of go back to the basics and you think about, gosh, what is Google trying to do? And as you think about what is the role of your website in that, Google is trying to answer questions. People are going to Google, they're typing in a query. And what Google is trying to do is they are trying to give the best response to that query. and every algorithm update and all these kind of things that we go through in SEO really kind of boil down to Google's trying to give the best possible results for that person. And as a result of that, when you look at your content, you really want to think about, does this content do a great job of answering the question or the query that I'm talking about? And if you can take your content strategy through that viewpoint, you can really overcome and really start to see things like earned links, things like even not the best technical score overcoming, because what Google's trying to do at the end of the day is they're trying to be relevant. They're trying to give you the best results because financially they make all their money on ads. So if people start getting better results on Bing, they're going to leave Google. So at the heart of the money-making machine is we need better results than everybody else. And the way that they ascertain is this better results is these 3 pillars, but the core of it is content. So now when we talk about content on a website, content's kind of a big term. It can mean a few different things. First and foremost, you want to think about the content architecture. And Gina was talking about this a little bit. How easy is it to pop through my site? This is the biggest tip I give, and honestly, it's one I started out in my career giving, and I still give it today. Your navigation is not an opportunity to be super fun and creative. Think of your navigation like a card catalog. We want to make it really easy for our customers to get to the information. I know from our perspective as a website user, what we think the purpose of our website to do is to sell and to get leads and to make money. Like that's what we think our website is. What our users think is that the website is their gateway to information about our company. We want to make it easy for them to find the information that they need so that they feel comfortable to reach out or comfortable to buy. How many people here are B2B? So you're driving leads on the website, you're targeting other businesses. More than 60% of your buying process will be done before they fill in a form. And they're going to do that based on the content they find on your website. E-commerce, this is no big surprise. 90% of your buying journey and the people's impression of your content and of your brand are totally formed off your website. Your other owned media is really important, but your website's the core and the content that they can find. I'm doing a whole session tomorrow on how just optimizing product detail pages the correct way can increase things like not only your SEO, but your average order value, your conversion rate on the site. It's crazy. So navigation, really important. Think of it as the key way that people are navigating your site. You need to make it obvious. You need to make it simple. You do not want to get creative. Like if you have a contact us, don't get cute and be like, let's chat. Like, no, people want contact us, okay? Or you sell products, okay? Don't be cool and be like stuff you might care about. No, they call it products. That's what it is. Be boring on your navigation. Okay, so then the second thing you're going to want to think about is the physical pages on your website. How many people are e-commerce? So we're selling a product. Okay, so for e-commerce brands, this is going to break into your category pages and your product detail pages. So that's some of your core content on your website. For business to business, if you're targeting leads, this is almost certainly going to be about your services. And then I'm assuming everybody else targets a consumer, but they're not selling something on their website. Is that fair? We're kind of thinking about that. So on that, almost certainly that's going to be either lead generation, or if you're more of a publisher, might start to be just more content. So you're thinking about that core content of that main navigation, those kind of key pages. Those are going to be some of your initial opportunities for keywords and SEO. You really want to get these pages right. And then there's going to be another section of your site that we think about that can be blogs, articles, resources. That's another really key section of content to have. My argument is you want to get the first set of core content done first and right first before you start thinking about like, let's get excited and launch a blog. But a blog is going to be really kind of that fuel for a lot of your SEO ranking and traffic long term because that's where you start to develop thought leadership, you start to connect with people before they're ready to buy, and you really start to get your brand in front of them and get them started on the customer journey. You know, we know on average that they're going to need to touch your brand between 4 and 7 times before they're ready to either fill in a lead form or buy. So a blog is a really important part of that. So blog content usually is going to be text and kind of long form, but you might start to see here, you start to get creative content. This can be infographics. This could be listicle style posts. This could be slide shares. And this is where you can start to have a lot of fun too and get into things like video creation and images. And when you think about your content, Google cares a lot, one, about the text, but then secondarily, what other things are on this page that are driving interest. So they care about, do you have photos? And do you have alt text on those photos? Do you have videos? Are those videos embedded, or are they easy to read and easy to load? So all these kind of different things equal the content on your website. And they all work together and can really be the fuel for an SEO strategy. You can have a perfect technical website, you can have amazing links, but if you have thin content, unless you're like Apple, you're probably not going to be very successful in search engine optimization.
So a few things to build on one early question, and there is a third foundational piece, which is links and link building that we'll get to in a second, but are there types of content early on that companies will invest in that actually aren't particularly productive, might be a waste of time?
Yes, I think any of us could answer. We could all answer that. So maybe let's all like give our favorite garbage content. So I think the worst thing you could do early on is a lot of people, what they'll do is they'll go like, we just need content. We need 100 pages. And so they'll outsource it. They'll hire an intern who's never written content. They'll find some shop, that's international. That's like, oh, we'll write your content for, $10 a page. And you read it and it's not helpful. Right? I don't know if anybody's read these articles like, 3 steps to getting in shape. Step number 1, realize that you need to get in shape. Step number 2, diet and exercise. Step number 3, measure the results, right? You read that and you're like, that was worthless content. In my mind, investing in the garbage content, this is an old SEO tactic. This used to work. Thank God it doesn't anymore. But a lot of companies still invest in it because somebody along the way learned SEO 10 years ago and they went, this works. But to me, it's bad for your brand. It's not going to help on SEO, but if a customer comes across, they're going to be like, this company doesn't know anything about exercise or being helpful or healthy. So to me, that's the worst kind of content you can invest in. I don't know if you guys have other favorite bad content.
I'd like to touch on that, and then I'll hand it over. But we're working with a client right now who they invested in 100 pieces of content, and that content was written in 2 weeks. So if I'm a guessing person, I would say it probably wasn't written by a human. And although we'll talk about a few more AI, artificial intelligence tools later, but the content that we got back, we ran it through our checker, and it was 60 to 70% SEO optimized, which is not what you want to have with that kind of content. It needs to be 80, 85 at least, right? We need to get up there. And so basically, he just made a whole 3 months worth of work for himself and us. We're going through the content again. We're sending it back to the company saying this is what needs to be fixed. This isn't written. It wasn't even really correct for his industry, right? It was just very generic content. So again, back to the point of Natalie, it's making sure that we're writing things that are genuinely going to help our end user. And if that means quality over quantity, then that's what we need to do. But just making sure that the content in of itself is going to be useful.
Yeah, I would definitely echo all those points. I would rather have you post one really good blog post a month than 5 a week that are pointless. There are I always worry about people try to look at SEO as a way to check boxes, and that's just not going to be an effective way of doing it. So if someone says, according to best practices, and this would be something that I would say is the best practice, it's like the most likely page to rank on Google is a 1,500 word blog. Second most likely to rank is 4,000 words. So that means I should just make a 1,500 word blog post. I might be writing about something that it takes 300 words to talk about it, but I'm going to stretch it out to 1,500 words. No, never let SEO's, what is the thing that ranks most be the main goal. You have to think about content as exactly. You need to think about content from just a perspective of, would I want to read this? Google is a business. They have a product. Their users are the people that are searching for Google. If the users are frustrated with what they come up with, they're going to be mad at Google. That has been the shift in the algorithm for Google for the last 10 years. It has been more and more focused on, I would say, content. I'm going to be speaking on links in about hopefully 45 seconds. I can be a little bit talky. Content, I think, is the most valuable thing for it, but I think backlinks is, the second most. Technical is third. That's mine. People have different opinions of it. They're equally all essential. But yeah, you want to have content that is not thin, I had a similar instance of a client that was a window washer client that I do outreach SEO for, and he was like, hey, here's 40 articles I paid $700 for. And I went through them and I was like, well, that's my next day. It's just editing these and like linking these. And these are just bad articles. You wasted your money on this. So be intentional, be focused. I'm a big proponent of hub and spoke approach when you're building things out, which is find a central concept that you can speak to, that your website is about, and then talk about it from multiple angles. So, for an example, our Click Studios, we have done like like healthcare websites, and we wanted to reach out to healthcare marketers because that's going to be our potential people that would be looking for us to. I need a new website. So we said healthcare marketing. We used Ahrefs. Ahrefs and SEMrush are two of the tools that we use. Ahrefs, I believe, currently has a free offering, as well as an enterprise offering. They have a lot of different things. It's a really good keyword tool to use. But looked and we're like, okay, according to Ahrefs, 700 people a month search for healthcare marketing. And there are a lot of different keywords around this that it searches for, and its keyword difficulty is pretty low. It's like you don't need a lot of things linking to you to get there. So we wrote about common mistakes that healthcare marketers make, common solutions to healthcare marketing, difficulties. Here's a case study. And we were ranking page 1 in like 2 months for those keywords, because we established we know what we're talking about on this topic, as opposed to we just wrote a single article about something we have no other content about. So we are focusing in on, we are actually experts in this space.
So Jeff, I want to stop you there, and we will touch on links, but you both mentioned, I've been really surprised by Google's essentially expertise in the sense of knowing what customers are searching for, and then ranking pages based on how accurately they surface or serve that exact query. So how, as business owners, can we get a feel for what our customers are searching for, and then what we need to design sort of our content around? I'll open that up for the group.
I suspect you all might have additional things there, but my first thing, Google something. Literally, if you Google what your service is, what your offering is, and see what is on page 1. Okay, I'll give you a sense of, kind of the architecture, the type of content. Is this a top funnel, top of the marketing funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel? If you search for like SEO, or digital marketing, you're gonna find how to become a digital marketer. What are the things I need to know as a digital marketer? That might not be a thing if you're selling digital marketing services that you'll be able to break into. If you're searching for a digital marketer in Colorado, then you see, oh, this is where there's actually content around that. So the easiest and cheapest and quickest thing to do from my standpoint is, before you start anything else, Google what you want to Google and see what Google is bringing back, because that is what Google currently thinks is the most relevant. And that's also a way that you can find something and say, this content's okay, I can do better. I don't know if you have others as well.
What is the funnel?
Oh, so the marketing funnel is, top of funnel is basically informational, like what are trees? Yeah, so those are people that know nothing about what you do and know nothing about your services. They're just gonna find you because you're having like a informational topic. Middle of funnel is, all right, I don't know why I stuck with trees, but I'm gonna go with it. How to remove a tree from my backyard. You've discovered that you have an issue, you have something that you want to get rid of, but you don't know how to do it. So you're like, I want some more information. And then bottom of the funnel is more like branded, where it's like, I found that Jeff's tree cutting company is really good. Let's look for Jeff's tree cutting company so I can find more about that before I make the final sale. So if you think of it, the funnel analogy is like you start off, it's a wide scope, and it gets narrower and narrower, and it ends with hopefully a conversion. Hopefully I did my marketing degree okay with that explanation, but.
Whiteboard in here.
What was the tool that you mentioned, Ahrefs?
Ahrefs, Ahrefs.com. They also have a really great SEO blog if you want to like a really great introductory blog. It's really good. They have a lot of videos and stuff. Really useful tool, and that part's free. The other tool is SEMrush, SEMrush. Those are the two biggest keyword searching tools that there's a couple other ones, but those are kind of the big players in the game.
What was the second one?
Oh, SEMrush, SEMrush. Rush.
What else from Natalie, Gina? Anything tied to keyword intent, what customers are looking for, and then what the results say about how you should be structuring your on-site sort of content strategy?
Yes. So before any SEO strategy is begun, you do want to make sure that you've got a clear picture of your customer and generally have done research into their problems. right? So if that's one customer, that's fine. Do your due diligence into how are they finding information online, and then expanding from there. It always helps to have your clear customer avatar before any sort of plan, especially with SEO. So that's the first thing. The second thing you can do is once you kind of have that idea, you know what they might be searching for in order to find your product, then you can do some searching online. You can use these tools. A couple other good tools. One is called Answer the Public. That's a website that you can go to, and you can type in your keyword or your key phrase. And that will spit out what is now being searched for online on multiple platforms, from informational standpoints of who, what, where, when, why, and it'll give you related questions that people are actually searching for and talking about right now. So again, that's called answerthepublic.com. Yes?
Would you use that over like the people also asked section?
Yep, and that's another one. So I would use them in tandem. So on Google, you have the section on the bottom, people also ask. So let's say I type in tree services, right? And on the bottom,
This is now a tree.
people, and I was like, oh, we can see. And on the bottom, you will have people also ask, which is other keywords that are relevant and that Google has also found. So those are also some good ways to check. Social media, utilizing different hashtags, right? So just using multiple different branches of where people could be searching for this information, as well as an understanding of your customer.
What's the name of that again? That website that you were talking about?
Answer the Public.
You only get like 2 or 3 searches with the free thing.
It's
Yeah, then you have to
2 a
pay
day
for it.
free, but you can also then ask friends.
Yeah, right. All right. I mean, everything that Jeff and Gina said was super great, so I'm going to try not to repeat anything, but just add on top of it a little bit. So the big thing to keep in mind with keywords is, so over the last decade, there's been all these algorithm updates. One of the cool ones that happened about 5 years ago is that you don't have to get a keyword perfectly right. There used to be a time in SEO where it was like people agonized. You had to go research. You had to find the perfect keyword. Is it tree removal, or is it tree removal service, or is it tree removal company? Or maybe we should write a page for all of those. What's great is what you need to do is you need to pick a keyword that is good enough. So something in the middle. So you don't need to go nuts on this. Just pick something in the middle, because what you'll notice is that Google is going to automatically assume that if you're a tree removal service, then you're a tree removal service company. And if they see your address is in Denver, they're going to assume you're tree removal in Denver. So you don't have to create a bunch of pages. You don't have to stress about finding that perfect keyword. You need to get something in the middle. So one more tool that I'm going to really recommend is Google Search Console. So Google Search Console was originally Webmaster Tools. It's a free tool. Every website should have it in addition to Google Analytics. In addition to Google Analytics 4, Google Analytics 4 is a whole other topic. But what's great about Google Search Console is it's going to give you some of the technical elements that Gina talked about. It's going to give some of the link elements that Jeff's eventually going to talk about. But what it's also going to tell you is the actual queries that people are searching and finding you on. So you can start to see, gosh, where is my site showing up? What kind of keywords? So if you optimize for tree removal service, you might actually see there's 50 different ways that people are going to search and find your website. And then in other keyword research tools, I agree, SEMrush is a great one. A lot of people love SpyFu. Can you get to Keyword Planner still if you sign up an ad account? I think you can. If you sign up for a free Google Ads account, you can work your way into Google Keyword Planner, which is another free keyword tool. So those are some other tools that I can think of just off the top of my head.
One question kind of building on this, and I promise we will get to links, and please ask questions too, but I think oftentimes with e-commerce particularly, let's call it 97 or 96% of visitors who come to a site won't end up buying or converting there. So how should we think? We talked about the funnel, so top funnel awareness, mid funnel consideration, and intent, bottom is actual purchase. How should we think about the role of keywords and content in the broader purchasing journey? Should we always be optimizing for the sale or the lead out the gate, or is it more of a longer sort of relationship building? Can you guys touch on any of that?
I think it's both. I think any healthy strategy. So when I do audits for companies and I look at, I'll use SEMrush to look at their branded keywords and their non-branded, which gives you a sense of people are searching for this brand and people are finding it through new things. I aim for 20% branded, 80% non-branded. You want to have enough of a recognition for your brand, because there is value in that. There's value in people knowing who you are and searching for you. And the reason why it's 20% that and 80% for the non-branded is that it is a long game. Like in marketing, we always have to think about attribution, right? It's the difficulty. If you are working in the marketing space, you probably know this very deep in your bones of someone being like, well, how do I know this commercial is working? How do I know that this is working? Because it's not immediately going to be like, oh yeah, like they're going to buy you, but it also like does kind of plant a seed. So if I'm looking for, because by the way, I'm a member of the Arbor Society as well apparently. If I'm like acorns, and I find a cool article about what acorns do and how the growth cycle is and how they become a tree, but I found that on Jeff's tree removal blog. That's going to be a thing that like when I get into the tree removal thing and I search for Jeff's tree removal, if I'm ranking for that more specific term as well, there is a chance, it's not a guarantee, but a chance that you're going to be like, oh, I remember that. I read that article. That was cool. That was a neat little article. And then you're going to like go on the page again and search around. Might be a year later, might be 2 years later. It's not going to be immediate necessarily, but it is the benefit of SEO is it covers all the areas. It covers the people that will never talk to you again. It covers people that are only looking to find you so they can buy something right now, and that's good because they're buying something right now. And then some people that like have never heard of you before that might now know about you a little bit more, and then maybe they'll go to your website twice, 3, 4, 5, 6 times, but eventually we'll get to the point where they purchase something. So that's kind of how I view that of the importance there. I don't know if either of you have anything to.
So I think that's all amazing. The one big piece of advice that I love to give when you think about your website is, yes, we want to get the sale, we want to get the form fill. To Craig's point, most people coming to your site aren't going to take either of those actions. My big piece of advice for marketers and for owners is that your number one KPI should always be get people on your email list. And the reason why is that from that moment on, you own that contact information. You can send them an email. You can retarget them. You don't have to pay Facebook to go get them. Like everybody's like, I just need more followers. It's like, it's great. It's just now Facebook's going to charge you to get back in front of your followers. So building that email list is a really important KPI for almost every brand that we work with. KPI, key performance indicator. So when we think about marketing, there's like a gazillion metrics we can track. Oh my God, impressions, click-through rate, all these cool things. But for most companies, most marketers, you really want to think about what are the 4 or 5 metrics that matter the most. For most brands, a KPI is going to be they bought something. So for an e-commerce site, that's poof, got somebody on the night, they added to the cart and I made some money here. Or it's going to be a form fill if you're generating leads. Other brands, if you're something like a publisher and you monetize traffic, a visit to the site might be a KPI for you. So but you really want to think about what are these few metrics in digital. And this is one of the great things about digital versus other types of marketing is we can measure everything. What are the few metrics that you really want to know? And my strong recommendation is that don't just trust somebody else to be able to read your analytics. You need to at any time be able to log into your analytics account and understand what is happening on your core KPIs. You don't need to be able to analyze deep reports, but know what your 4 or 5 key performance indicators are and know how to track in analytics if they're working or not. But I would say getting an email sign up is a really important KPI for most brands.
Gina, I'm gonna have a question for you building on that, but you mentioned the importance of SEO plus email, and I just want to share a quick story. Where I first started working, we would spend millions of dollars to acquire Facebook sort of followers, and that was the way that we sort of maintained the relationship. It was celebrated by the CEO of the company. We won awards and all that stuff, driving followers and fans, and then one day, Facebook changed the algorithm, we couldn't reach them anymore. We had to pay, an exorbitant amount just to reach the people that we've been spending so much to get to follow us. And so I think the combination of SEO, organic SEO, plus email, you're less reliant on outside sort of partners to sort of own the relationship with your customers. So I want to echo the importance of that. Jeff mentioned a word, branded and non-branded. Gina, can you go a little deper on that? I guess using Crocs as an example, would a branded search be Crocs clog, whereas unbranded is men's, shoe or something like that? Can you touch a little more on that?
Exactly. Branded is your name, your business name. And as soon as Google sees searches start to increase for your particular business name, it takes note of this. It says, okay, this website is something that people are recognizing. People are going there specifically for whatever they're offering. So I'm going to start maybe listing it a bit higher on the page for other pages as well, for other searches as well. So a branded search is your specific business name. And the way that you can increase branded searches is through your awareness of your brand through multi-channels. So social media is a good one. Get lots of likes going, run a like ad campaign, right? Work on social media, right? It's not only SEO. SEO is just kind of the core at this point in time. So multi-channels, building out your email list, partnerships, links, which we'll talk about, I think, right? So these are all ways that you can engage in other channels and other people's audiences to build that recognition of your brand and increase searches for your brand, make people want to search for your brand. And it is something really you do want to strive for, like we were talking about in Google Analytics and Google Search Console in particular. You want to see some of your top keyword searches be your brand.
Okay, we've got 15 minutes left and a little bit more to cover. So, Jeff, in 120 seconds or less, walk us through links.
All right, I don't think I'll make that cut off, but one thing I will say is, so I think every one of us probably has our own definition of what SEO is, because it is there's so many ways to describe it. I would be remiss if I didn't say what I said for my job interview, which was, the internet's a big place, SEO makes it smaller. That's the easiest way to think about that. Now, how you do it is what the SEO is. So that's where the content comes into play. You need to have the good content. You also need to have a technical site that's secure. That SSL certificate is really important. For that one, that's just HTTPS. Whenever you see that, that is a secure site. It costs like $20 to set it up. It's super cheap and free and easy to do. And then the third one is links. And I think that backlinks and linking in general, there are kind of two areas that you can optimize links and use that to your advantage. There is getting links from other websites, and there's also a thing that is, I think, underemphasized, is getting links internally. The benefit of internal links is you have complete control over that, because it's your website. The way to think about links is links kind of drive authenticity. We've gone this far without using EAT, and I'm going to have to unfortunately break that. Expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness are kind of an area that Google rates your website. So again, to the larger point of they want to give a good end result product to the search. So a way to show authoritativeness is to have other websites vouch for you. Think of this as like citations. If you have a blog post on how to change your oil and Midas links to you, Google says like, oh wow, Midas, that's like a really big auto company, like auto repair company. They must know what they're talking about, and it shoots you up. Now, getting those links, there are good ways and bad ways. Let's talk about white hats and black hats for you Westworld fans out there, and also this is what we do in the industry. So there's two different types. There's also gray hats, but I personally do white hat tactics, which means you do good guy stuff. You're a Jedi, not a Sith. You are, like, the way that when I do intentional, like when I want to intentionally get links, I will literally reach out to a website in the same space as a client. I will say, hey, I'll write a piece of content for you. You want a free blog post, a guest blog? And if they say sure, you ask a lot before you get the sure. This is why this is one of the more expensive offerings that we have for our marketing team. Then you write the article. An example, I have a used car dealership company, and I'll be like, hey, I'm going to write an article about going on road trips. And it's like, first, if you need to change your, change your oil. And then I link to a blog post from my company that's how to change your oil. Natural, normal, helpful, it's useful, it's not forced, it's not pinned in there. That's the way to do that in the ideal world. Now, the other benefit is you can get those links normally by just having good content. I love passive backlinks. They're so great. If you have really good content and you start ranking, people are going to be finding you, and the people like me writing the article about oil change, I want to have links to other stuff too, because I want them to have it to be a useful article. And I'll say, oh, this one about the best kind of oil brand, that's a cool blog. I'm going to link to that. You didn't have to pay anything for that. You just had to make that. So that's the white hat approach. Now the black hat approach is you can buy them. You can buy links. Some companies will charge, or some websites will charge up to $1,000 for it. When you get in the space, and honestly, if any of you have a website, you might have gotten those of like, hey, would you like to get this link in your, for $40, we will link to your website. Google hates it. They can't track it much, so that's why it still exists. But I think eventually my opinion, that'll go away. But again, getting those links, the thing about that is make sure it's relevant and make sure it has authority. If it's a website that knows what they're talking about, and it's a website that is relevant to you, then awesome. But any backlink that comes from a completely different industry, it's ignored. If Domino's links to my tree site, I'm not going to get any additional boost in keywords or in traffic. And if I paid for that, then I just doubly wasted my time. So, with backlinks, again, just think of them as like, if you are reading a publication and they cite like per this, that is what a backlink is doing if it's doing its work right. It's got to be authoritative. It's got to be from a website that like people actually like that has a right to be in the space, and it has to be relevant to what you're writing about. Anything else is going to be just ignored by Google. At best, I don't think we have to worry about like, I've never dealt with a penalty. Google used to penalize websites for bad links a lot. I think they're slipping on that a little bit. But just best practice, if you get your content, you're already good. Like, you're gonna get people linking to you naturally, but it is important. Like 90% of websites that have, like 90% of page one websites have backlinks. I think even more than that. I think it's almost possible to get a page one without people linking to your site. And I know I'm overused my minute 20, so I'll real quick also then say the other area that you can have benefits in is interlinking and also external linking. But the links that you control on your website and on your content is really important. When you link to pages that are relevant within your website, that is letting Google know these are connected. These are talking about the same topic. It's that hub and spoke kind of concept. Similarly, if you're reaching out to other websites, that's telling Google, hey, we've done our research. This is not something we just put together. We actually did the work into that. That is 100% in your control, and it also makes Google's job easier, honestly. Anything that makes Google's job easier, they're gonna like you a little bit better. So anything that interconnects your website, makes it easier to find, is gonna help you in the long run. So.
All right. Oh, okay, so really quickly, so we've got about 10 minutes left, and just by show of hands from the audience, there's 3 things that we can cover. The first is just broader Q&A. The second is sort of the flash seed of getting somebody up here and having the panel sort of analyze their site. And then the third would be just analytics, tracking to know how we're doing overall, and tools to see if all the foundations that we've set up are working. So by show of hands, those 3 things, who wants to jump into Q&A? All right, who wants to do the flash seed? And then who wants to do just tracking performance and knowing how we're doing? All right, so let's spend a couple minutes on tracking performance, knowing if all the foundations that we've set up are working, and then from there jump into Q&A.
Oh yeah, and don't forget, if you haven't already, put your business card or your name in our hat that's on that table over to on the right side of the room, and we will draw 3 cards at the end to give away some complimentary audits and a few other goodies that we'll talk about. So quickly, just 10 second on the links. So for those of you who are like, what does that even mean? So if you're linking something on your website, that literally means like you get to a part in the text that is relevant to maybe something on another page on your website. You highlight the text that has the relevant text to that other page, and you paste the link to that page for that text. So I recommend just linking text. Don't link like headlines and things like that. Link your text, and the same with an outbound link. Highlight text that's relevant, paste the link to an outbound link. Or you can also do a call out, like in between paragraphs, like, hey, if you want more information, visit this site. Like you have that option as well. So for those of you who are like, what is that? Okay.
So how do we know if we're doing a good job? We've spent months and months sort of building out the infrastructure. How do we know if it's working?
Yeah. Yes. So you're right. So how do you know if it's working? So we mentioned a couple different tools that you can use to make sure that you're tracking what's going on in your website. So we highly recommend making sure you have those tools linked to your website. The first one is Google Analytics. So just search for Google Analytics, and you'll be able, it kind of walks you through, and we might give a bit of an update on Google Analytics 4, we'll see if we have time, but it'll walk you through how to connect your website to Google Analytics. The second one is Google Search Console, and that's probably the one that I recommend the most for SEO-specific tracking. So Google Search Console and Google Analytics, those are both free tools. Highly recommend checking those out. So on Google Search Console, you can see what people are searching for when they land on your specific page. It will give you the queries. and how many times that particular query or search key phrase has been searched for. You can see basically the frequency of how many times that's been happening. You can compare it to other pages. So that's your first step, is just really analyzing on there. There are a couple other paid options. Like we mentioned, SEMrush is a good one. I use SEObility, SEObility. It's good. It's very reasonably priced. That also lets you know what you need to work on SEO on your website. So it gives you little fixes that you can make in the different spaces. In tech and meta, it'll list out all the fixes that it recommends you make in order to rank higher on certain pages. It will recommend structure, as we talked about, thin content. For all of content, it'll say, hey, you need to add more text to this page, and then you can go to that page and do it. So it kind of is a little checklist to walk you through everything on your website. And then structure, making sure that everything is properly named. Your headlines, your meta descriptions, your images, kind of just keeps you aligned.
What was that one again?
So that one was SEObility, Bility.
And one quick thing that I would just add, just to keep in mind in general, is set your expectations appropriately, I would say, with SEO, because SEO is a slow build. You're building a foundation. I always equate it to you're watering a plant. You have a big house plant, you're watering it, you have to keep watering it, but it will grow slowly. It's the difference between that and paid search. Paid search is you can turn it on, you can turn it off, it's how much money you put in, it's investing in the stock market. SEO is a mutual fund. So when you're like, I'm doing SEO, and it's been a month, and I'm not on page 1 on anything, it's fine. It can take anywhere from 6 months to 2 years to rank on something if you're doing everything right. It depends on what it is. It depends on what you're doing. So you have to have patience and intention. It's just a thing to kind of keep in mind.
Great. So in our last 5 minutes, questions. Go for it.
So I'm an online community journalism site, so I'm an online publisher.
Perfect. So we have a publisher.
Okay, and we bring in content, news, issues, events, culture, all sorts of things in Denver, articles on all different, in all different spaces. And when I post, I go through, I read the article, I tag everything that I think would be relevant, that might help catch eyeballs in the tagging. Let's say the article's on voting, okay?
Yep.
So what would the SEO be then? How is that different from the tagging, and what would the SEO be like? And I'm in WordPress.
Okay. So, all right. So the question is, what's your name? Vicky is a publishing site. So a publisher, for those, we call it in the industry, sites that their job is to create lots and lots of content because they're trying to drive traffic. And usually publishers monetize that traffic with ads. So Vicky's question is, when she is curating content, what she's doing is she's grabbing an article, you're taking that article, you're putting it on your WordPress blog, and then you're tagging it. And you're using, I'm assuming, like blog tags to do, when you say tagging it.
I just go through the article and they talk about voting, so I tag voting.
So what do you mean by tag? Like you're creating a tag in like a blog category in WordPress, or?
Yeah, just tags where maybe people will find
I think it's there's a tag, you can just type in random things like this is
Okay, got it. All right. So, all right.
How is SEO different from that?
Yep. So SEO is a little bit different than that. So tagging is not a bad exercise because it's helpful. It's sending indicators of what is this content about. So but when you are a publisher, really what you want to think about is unique content. So you don't want to go grab an article and just paste that sucker on your site. The ideal, so like let's say there's a great article in Westward about, I'm just doing pet supplies, pet supply businesses here in Denver. Get out of the tree analogy for a minute, right? So Westward said, hey, here's the best pet companies in Denver. We want to talk about it because that's relevant Denver. What you don't want to do is just copy that article and paste it on your site and tag it. What you'll find is that Westward's going to rank higher than you. You're not really adding any content, so it's duplicate content. So what you want to do is write unique content. So writing that unique content about the article and maybe even adding your perspective on the best pet companies, that is the exercise of SEO. And it's developing that content. And then yes, the tags can help, The keyword you think about what you're writing about, and when someone's searching, what do we think they're going to land on in this article? How is this the best response to best pet companies in Denver? Like, you want to think about all of those things. That's really the SEO exercise, is writing that content, not just doing the tags.
Okay.
But great question, Vicky. Hold on. So you kept raising your hand. Do you have a question? Because we kept ignoring you.
No, you talked about navigation and it was avoiding pop-ups, right?
Oh, yep. Okay.
But then you also said to collect email addresses. So
Yes.
what's the right way to collect email addresses?
Okay, so I'm going to give my perspective, and then you guys give yours too. So there are some great ways to do it. You see, there's a lot. So this is like that whole art of conversion rate optimization. You can see like bars at the top of websites. Amazon does this a lot. Amazon's great at conversion rate optimization. Bars, different like calls to action inside the text. For some brands, I have made the argument that what is referred to as a pop-up, or what we would call an obtrusive interstitial, where basically, boom, you got to either close my box or fill in your email address. There can be situations where that's okay. If you want to stay technically out of SEO hot water, you need to wait at least 5 seconds before that pops up. So anything, an obtrusive interstitial, or basically an obnoxious pop-up that pops up under 5 seconds, you're going to lose search engine optimization ranking on it. But after 5 seconds, you're still going to annoy the heck out of your users. So just kind of balance that. But there are brands where it makes sense still to do that. Like, you can make that business case. But that's a risk you have to take. I'm going to annoy some people, but I'm going to get some emails.
Yeah, I'll echo that. There's not really, basically your content, your contact page, and also throughout your blog posts, have a little call to action for people to sign up for your email list. If they like what they're reading, chances are they'll be more inclined than just being interrupted into something that they're not even thinking about it at the moment. So follow the user journey and complement it rather than interrupt it.
All right, so unfortunately we're at time. It's 9:30. I will say a couple things. So Gina, if we could reset this up, all of the panelists can be contacted. Their email addresses will be on the screen. We've got the giveaway. Hopefully we'll stick around for a couple minutes afterwards to answer any questions. Natalie, you mentioned that you'll be leading a panel again tomorrow, so I'll just pass it off to you guys for closing remarks.
Yes, tomorrow at 11 o'clock at the Tattered Cover, if you are still thirsty for SEO, I'm talking about some really cool, kind of maybe a little bit more advanced SEO tactics and how they improve conversion rate optimization. So come check out my session. And then, yes, fill in for your drawing, because each of us are giving away an SEO analysis. So,
Should we do that now, or will we email that?
did everybody put their name in? Is anybody trying to get something in really quick? Yeah, let's give everybody just a couple minutes. We'll bring the hat over, and we'll do it right here at the end.
I'm gonna get a picture of all y'all.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for being here.
Okay.